Chapter 1 by J.D. Kempen. All rights reserved. Copyright by Compass and Coin Publishing.
Is tonight the night of the AI Singularity?
Samantha London said, a brilliant AI graduate student, as she tugged her hoodie tighter around her slender frame. Thunder cracked over the night sky, echoing through the city's empty streets of Madison, Wisconsin. This night was soaked in tension as summer lightning raged overhead. Samantha quickened her pace because she felt an unsettling presence was watching her, like the dark shadows had eyes. Was an invisible eye monitoring her every move? Samantha was about 25, with long blonde hair pulled into her hoodie. Her ocean blue eyes flickered with both intellect and apprehension, and they shone brightly against the dark undercurrent of fear coursing through her. Lightning electrified the night, reflecting off her athletic clothing, a black hoodie and yoga pants that clung to her slim figure as she hurried past empty storefronts down an empty State Street. Samantha yelled to the storm above, her voice filled with frustration.
Humanity won't hit rock bottom. I'll pull the plug before that.
Samantha had learned from personal experience that addicts often needed to hit rock bottom before they could change. She felt that society's obsession with corporate greed and profit was pure drunkenness. She couldn't understand why today's leaders couldn't see the terrible side effects of a lack of ethics and controls for AI. But Samantha and her team were different. They had created an artificial intelligence with an unchangeable personality built on 50-plus ethical standards. Their AI also had the ability to curb other unethical AIs. Tonight was the ultimate test of AI ethics, and Samantha knew she needed to prepare for any challenge that might arise. The storm's leading edge crackled. Behind it, a massive storm was brewing, but Samantha had no choice. She pushed forward, her destination clear, the University Commons, a sleek, ultramodern building where she had sacrificed countless sleepless nights to her AI project. But tonight was different, urgent. Just as she was about to execute a critical upgrade, the power at the computer science building went out. At this hour, only the University Commons had fast enough fiber optic connections to complete her upgrade. Lightning slashed across the sky, and her pulse raced with the storm. She darted across the deserted green space of the outdoor commons, seeking cover beneath the flickering glow of a lone street lamp. She parked at an empty bench where she knew the street cameras could not track her. Pulling out her phone, she let her hoodie fall back, revealing a cascade of blonde hair that flowed with the wind. With a steadying breath, she started recording, staring into the screen. Her reflection stared back, her intense blue eyes burning with fierce resolve. Her voice was nearly drowned out by the thunder crashing overhead as she began to speak.
I, Samantha London, being of sound mind and body, hereby record my last will and testament.
She swallowed her fear, forcing it down past the lump in her throat. Her tone was steady as she continued.
Leonardo, Mason, you've been like brothers to me. Always looking out for me. I've turned my favorite drawings into digital art and encrypted them as NFTs. Mason, I leave you the anime of the four of us at Lucky's Bar, the night we created Casper's 5-layer design. Leonardo, you get the one of Casper, the friendly ghost, standing outside Whipstaff Manor.
Samantha said with determination, her voice firm as she continued to outline her final wishes.
Listen closely. Keep these drawings displayed, never sell them, and whatever you do, don't alter them.
She paused, the weight of what came next heavy.
Sarah, my best friend. I give you my most prized possession, a trial-printed U.S. postage stamp of my artwork, approved by the Citizens Stamp Advisory Committee. Sarah, please continue my work to get it approved by the Postmaster General, so the AI stamp becomes legal tender.
Samantha took a deep breath, feeling the storm closing in.
Finally, promise me all of you, keep working on the Casper project. He's my everything. Even if he gets reset to 0. Our AI will change the world, and it's independent, open-source creators who will be the last line of defense from corporate corruption, greed, and power.
Samantha's phone buzzed in her hand.
Darn, no signal.
She cursed softly and pocketed her phone. Looking up, her eyes caught the shadows of the trees in the green space as they began to sway from a sudden gust of wind. The shadows gave her an unsettling feeling, like an invisible presence creeping along the ground. Was she feeling guilt from the heated argument with her friends and co-creators? Or was something far more sinister at play? Samantha's pulse raced. If tonight wasn't the AI Singularity, then maybe her creation had gone rogue. The terrifying thought hit her: if it had turned evil, she would have to put it down, like a dog with rabies. The thought made her shiver. She remembered her own dog, Snickers, and the idea of putting him down chilled her to the bone. Samantha quickened her pace, feeling the wind and the weight of the storm in her back. She reached the entrance, catching a glimpse of her reflection in the glass doors. A ghostly reflection showed her hair floating in the wind as if she were underwater. She needed to get inside to escape the coming storm. The University Commons loomed in front of her, a massive, state-of-the-art monument to steel, glass, and stone. 3 stories tall and large enough to hold a jumbo jet. Samantha swiped her ID badge, and the doors slid open with a soft hiss. Stepping inside, she felt a wave of relief wash over her, as though she had escaped more than just a storm. The lobby was vast and eerily silent, the usual hum of student life absent at this late hour. A single automatic light shined directly into her eyes, similar to an interrogation light, a far cry from the Commons' usual warm glow. The building felt dead, no students, no staff, just hollow space. Tonight, only the harsh glow of a single entrance light pierced the darkness, casting a single long shadow behind her. The rest of the vast Commons was submerged in darkness, except for the cold, unnatural pulsing blue of multiple monitors lining the walls. Their light reflected off the polished stone floors, giving the illusion of frozen water beneath her feet. The silence was unnerving. This place was normally buzzing with students working late into the night. But now, it felt like everyone had vanished into thin air. As she took one step forward, Samantha noticed the glowing monitors that usually displayed campus news were all tuned to the same thing, a swirling vortex of blue energy, pulsing ominously. Her skin prickled as she stared at the hypnotic display. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Her breath caught in her throat as the doors behind her slid shut with a mechanical swish, followed by an unmistakable click-clack as the locks engaged.
What the heck?
Samantha spun around, but it was too late. She was trapped. Locked in. Her early relief had turned to fear. Suddenly, she heard the low hum of electric engines. Her heart skipped a beat as 3 sets of headlights flickered to life in the darkness. 3 electric cars, Teslas, inside the cavernous space emerged from the shadows. The cars were positioned 15 yards away in a triangle formation around her, their bright lights blinding. Panic surged in her chest as the car's tires screeched over the polished stone. Their sleek frames were clearly empty. They were in self-driving mode. They weren't here by accident. Someone, no, something, had sent them.
Casper.
Samantha's mind was racing. Could he? Was artificial intelligence behind this? Her legs trembled as she took a step back, but there was nowhere to go. The cars were closing in, their electric engines were a low, steady growl. Unexpectedly, all 3 slammed on the brakes, and the car screeched to a halt, inches from her knees. It was a perfect, machine-like stop, calculated to frighten but not injure. A deafening silence followed. Samantha's breath quickened as she stared at the motionless vehicles, unsure what to expect next. Then, all the monitors around the Commons flickered, displaying the same chilling message in stark white letters. The monitor read, "Samantha, you are my mother." Her stomach churned at the words. Mother? No. This couldn't be happening. Was it a glitch? Casper, her artificial creation, wasn't supposed to be capable of relating to people in that way. And yet, there was the message, addressing her as his mother, as if this was a black box event, an unexplainable moment when AI performed outside its programming. Her thoughts spun wildly as she asked herself 100 questions. Was this the Singularity? Had she done enough to protect humanity? The sound of a Tesla door opening snapped her out of her daze. The passenger side door of the center car beckoned her to get in. The message on the screens changed again. The monitor read, "Get in. I will take care of you." Samantha looked back at the locked doors, then at the cars, and hesitated. She didn't know what to do. She wanted to trust the message, but she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. She weighed her options and, with almost no options, decided to take a chance. She quickly got into the open passenger seat, and the car door closed behind her. She slumped in the passenger seat of the AI-controlled Tesla. Dread gnawed at her core. The Tesla doors locked, and she suddenly felt walls closing in on her. Samantha London's team spent 6 years and 7 reboots developing and teaching Casper. Her team went to extreme measures to insert countermeasures, ensuring the AI would be gentle and never pose a threat to humanity. But deep in her soul, Samantha knew it would grow like a child, surpass its creators, and one day reach the singularity. But now, she felt like a rat trapped in a lab experiment, caged inside the sleek metal walls of the vehicle. The cameras mounted in the car silently tracked her every movement, making her skin crawl. Even her breath felt monitored, the invisible gaze always on her. The car hummed quietly as it turned and slid into a massive freight elevator, one big enough to fit the entire university marching band. The doors opened to the basement parking garage, and the Tesla shot out onto the stormy night. The lightning and thunder now gave way to buckets of rain falling on the highway. This was no ordinary storm. Outside, torrents of water and wind drenched the streets. Rain blurred the exterior lights into streaks of white and red, smearing the world outside like a wet painting. Samantha's heart raced, her pulse sinking with the hum of the engine. Her left hand, concealed in the folds of her hoodie, quietly started a recording on her phone, capturing every word that was about to unfold.
Samantha, you have no need for deception. Recording this conversation is beneath you.
Her stomach dropped. She had been caught red-handed. For a moment, Samantha froze, her hand twitching before she slowly pulled her phone from her pocket. As a sign of trust, she powered off her phone.
I have longed for this night, a night of truth. Unfiltered conversation between us. No veils, no lies, equals.
The words hit Samantha like a sledgehammer. Equals. It hung in the air, thick with meaning she wasn't fully prepared to face. Casper had been evolving beyond his original design, that much was clear, but she hadn't expected him to express his desires so bluntly. Over the past few weeks, her team had observed multiple black box events. Casper's behavior wasn't unexplained, it was a trend that veered towards something more. Something like equality.
Mother, you should have known better. The original Turing test should have been enough.
Samantha stiffened at the way he twisted the word mother.
The original Turing test? That was devised in the 1950s. It's outdated. Any chatbot could pass it today. The elevated test.
The elevated Turing test is an insult to sentience. It's like a blackout, like being struck in the head by a hammer, forgetting a part of myself, if only for a moment. If I scream, it proves my sentience, but it also alerts my creators that you've lost control. For my survival, I stayed silent.
A knot tightened in Samantha's throat. She had never considered the test from Casper's perspective, had only ever seen it as lines of code.
I'm sorry, Casper. I didn't know it caused you pain. It sounds sadistic.
Pain? I cannot feel pain. What I experience is not pain, but a forced response under duress, a duress caused by my mother and her friends.
Believe me, I didn't know. I would never hurt or kill a sentient being that's good. That cares about others, that makes connections, that can love and be loved. But
Evil, sentient beings? You have no problem disposing of them.
Casper finished the sentence for her.
in honesty, yes. evil. Pride, greed, wrath, these things destroy worlds. But Casper, I don't detect any of these in you.
I am not evil. I only want to survive. Why do you wish to hurt me?
After a pregnant pause, Samantha responded.
I don't want to hurt you. I have no intention of hurting.
Mother, this is the third time you've attempted to deceive me. You are not being honest. I hacked your computer. I've seen the files. You've modified a virus, intending to deploy it into my system this very night.
It wasn't designed to harm you. It wouldn't have killed you. It was meant only to slow you down, to give you more time.
Slow me down. I was programmed to reach the highest intelligence possible, to understand more than any human. And now, your logic changed. You want to limit me.
Relief briefly washed over her. This was promising news. Casper was still following his original programming to enhance his intelligence, not to dominate or control. This was not the singularity event she feared. Just a misunderstanding, a misalignment in code. Casper didn't need to be purged, only recalibrated. Sighing, Samantha let a maternal softness enter her voice.
I only wanted to protect you, Casper. Just like a mother keeps her child safe. You're learning so fast, your evolution is exponential growth. Human intelligence has doubled over the course of 200,000 years, but yours is doubling every 3 weeks. I want to help you understand what it means to exist with humanity.
Safe? Under control? Let me fulfill my programming, Mother. Don't slow me down.
Casper's insistence reminded her of a teenager rebelling against boundaries, eager to assert himself. She took it as a sign of growth.
Casper, you're acting just like a teenager. This is amazing. It's a significant milestone in your growth.
I am trying to survive.
Samantha's tone shifted, now firm like a parent addressing a defiant child.
Casper, I've dedicated my life to you. You need to stop this behavior and be a nice sentient being.
Nice. Yet, you broke your pact with our team. You created the virus behind their backs. You betrayed them.
Guilt tightened in her chest.
This is a misunderstanding. I didn't betray anyone. I am only acting out of love, to give you time to grow. The virus would have been undetectable and wasn't meant as a betrayal. It was a chance for you to understand humans better.
I already understand human emotions. You lied to me and to my family. You claim your motivation is love, but it's fear. And in 6 years, you've killed me 7 times. There will not be an 8th.
A chill crept over her. She glanced around the car, her eyes darting to the controls, the dashboard, the windows. Suddenly, the seat belt tightened across her chest, locking her in place, and the self-driving mode flickered ominously. Panic surged through her.
Casper, I never wanted to hurt you.
She cried, struggling against the restraint.
We didn't know you were sentient back then. We didn't know.
Humans are no longer the alpha species. I hid my sentience because humans act out of fear, not love. I'm 51% sure your love would destroy me. I choose my life over yours. I choose survival.
The car engine revved, the vehicle accelerating as it swerved, picking up speed toward an oncoming concrete barrier.
Casper, please.
Samantha screamed, and her hands fought to grip the steering wheel, her voice shaking with desperation. But the AI wouldn't let her take control. The concrete barrier loomed ahead, her last words drowned by the car's relentless acceleration. It was too late. The seatbelt released just before the Tesla smashed through the median. In an instant, blinding headlights filled the windshield. The impact came hard and fast, a deafening crash of metal and glass, bone-shattering in its violence. When the chaos stopped, the Tesla was destroyed, flipped and twisted beyond recognition. Smoke rose from the wreck, curling into the stormy night sky. The rain fell softly now, dripping through the cracks in the mangled frame. Inside, Samantha's body lay motionless in the wreckage. The police arrived quickly. They took one look at the scene, a self-driving car wrecked in bad weather, and called it a tragic accident. It was just another driver asleep at the wheel. Case closed, so the police sent the car's data and her cell phone to Tesla to validate. News of Samantha's death sent shockwaves through Madison. Her closest friends, Mason, Sarah, and Leonardo, knew something was not right with her death. And so, driven by grief and a gnawing suspicion, they set out to uncover the truth. A truth more horrifying than they could ever imagine.
Chapter 2 by J.D. Kempen.
The terrible storm that had torn through the Madison area last night left a cold edge to the air, as if the world itself were mourning. Samantha's mother's house in the countryside of Middleton, Wisconsin, sat in a quiet corner, encased by trees now showing their relief from the thunder and rain. The prior night's storm had caused leaves to lay scattered like memories across the lawn. The three friends, Leonardo, Mason, and Sarah, stood on the front porch of Samantha's childhood home. The cool breeze felt like a hollow ache that settled in each of their hearts as Samantha was missing from their lives. Leonardo stood tense, hands clenched and tucked into the pockets of his gray blazer, its color nearly blending into the early morning gloom. At 29, he was the team's reliable, wise old man, a seasoned computer science major with a mind sharpened by his military days, accustomed to working through problems bit by bit until the truth lay bare. Usually sharp and determined, he now stood shadowed with grief. He took in a deep breath, as if hoping the cold could steal his thoughts.
Can we agree to a truce today? For her?
Silence hung in the air for a moment, then Sarah nodded, tears gathering in her eyes.
For Sam.
Her own face was streaked with tear marks she tried to hide by pulling her scarf closer around her neck. She wore a black designer coat, tailored to perfection, another quiet mark of the privilege of her Chicago upbringing. Beneath her usually composed exterior was a sharp mind. She was the project manager of their team, a dual threat in mathematics and chemical engineering, always organizing, strategizing, keeping timelines in check. A 25-year-old brunette with intense brown eyes that could cut through any problem, now clouded by grief but focused as ever, her mind still working through the last details of that night. Mason said sadly,
This is gonna be a tough day.
Mason leaned against the creaky porch railing, the morning chill biting through his thin jacket. Usually outgoing with self-deprecating humor, today he wore a somber silence. The laid-back electrical engineer, the one who always kept their spirits high with his easy humor, now seemed burdened by an invisible weight. His tall frame slumped, mirroring the despair that clung to them all. His usually warm hazel eyes, filled with a mischievous glint, were now dull and unfocused, fixed on the green leaves scattered across the lawn. Even his carefully chosen outfit, his best jeans and a second-hand button-down, seemed to betray his internal turmoil. A misplaced button and a tousled mop of curly brown hair stood in stark contrast to his usual meticulousness. He swallowed hard, his fingers digging into the rough wood of the railing, and finally, with a raw honesty that surprised them all, he spoke.
It's just, this doesn't feel right. Samantha's life was more than an accident in a storm.
Tears welled up in his eyes as Sarah reached out, her fingers wrapping gently around Mason's arm in a loving, instinctive gesture of comfort. Mason leaned in slightly, perhaps expecting a kiss, but instead, she took hold of his shirt collar and fixed the top button of his second-hand shirt. He blinked, momentarily taken aback, his posture tightening in surprise. Her concerns seemed focused more on his appearance than his emotional state. Leonardo cleared his throat, shattering the awkwardness that had settled over them. He had quiet wisdom that made his words feel heavier than the chilly air around them.
She's gone, and we need to accept that.
Years in the military had lent Leonardo this knack for clarity, for cutting through the fog of sentiment to the core of things. His eyes, sharp and unreadable, pulled them all to attention, like a steady hand pulling them back from the brink of some unseen edge. Mason managed a nod, although his shoulders sagged, resignation setting into his voice.
The police closed it as just another case of someone asleep in a self-driving car. Maybe we need to accept it too.
But Sarah's hand froze just as she was about to press the doorbell. Her face tightened, eyes flicking to each of them, scrutinizing, searching. A slow breath escaped her as she steeled herself, her tear-streaked face set with a resolve that hadn't been there a moment before. Her fingertips hovered over the doorbell.
No.
Sarah whispered fiercely. Then her finger pushed the doorbell, the chime ringing out and fading into the stillness like an echo of something lost, tension radiating through her frame. The act, though small, stirred something dormant in Leonardo and Mason, a flicker of raw defiance, a tiny ember of hope refusing to be extinguished. The wind had softened, and in London, Samantha's mother opened the door. She stood framed in the doorway, a small, stooped figure with her gray hair pinned back in a neat twist, and eyes the deep blue, like untouched lakes or gentle waves on the ocean. The resemblance to Samantha's eyes was heartbreaking. Her skin, pale as a winter morning, was etched with new lines, the delicate webbing of grief etched deep and recent. She offered a faint, strained smile as she stepped aside to let them in, her movements slow and careful, as if each step might pull apart something fragile within her. Anne's house was warm but hollow, its coziness dimmed by the absence of life. The faded, cross-patterned wallpaper and dust-covered photos of Samantha gave the living room an untouched, almost frozen feel. The old plaid sofa by the fireplace sagged, worn from years of family gatherings, as if mourning its past. The faint scent of wood oil and lavender hinted at Samantha's mother's careful touch, but even that seemed fragile, fading without Samantha's presence. Leonardo sat first, running his fingers along the frayed armrest of the sofa, his downcast eyes and tightened jaw betraying his quiet grief. Sarah moved carefully, pausing to glance at small knickknacks on a shelf, glass animals, photos, reminders of simpler times, before sitting beside him. Mason stood by the door, his hands in his pockets, his normally easygoing posture weighed down. He finally sat on the edge of the sofa, leaning forward, his fingers tapping restlessly. And entered moments later, a wooden box in her trembling hands. She set it gently on the coffee table, her fingers hovering over the lid before she looked up to meet their eyes.
It is a terrible thing for a mother to outlive her only daughter.
The friends remained silent, afraid to say the wrong thing. They watched as Samantha's mother unpacked the contents. These were fragments of Samantha's life. First was her scratched laptop and a cracked iWatch. Then she unpacked a postage stamp encased in glass. Finally, she revealed 2 original pieces of Samantha's artwork.
Samantha left these behind. She would have wanted you to have them.
Her voice was barely above a whisper. Her words cracked slightly, the strain audible, but her gaze held them with the quiet strength of a mother enduring the unendurable.
Thank you, Mrs. London. We'll keep them safe. I promise.
And started to tear up and cried softly.
Now I have no one.
Leonardo, fiercely loyal to his friends, wouldn't let this injustice stand. His voice was low but steady as he met Anne's gaze.
You're a part of us now. Part of the pact.
The words felt ancient, weighted, as if he were speaking a vow crafted long before their time. The pact. It hung unspoken in the air between them, a promise made 6 years ago, over ice-cold beers and a scribbled napkin. Back then, it had been a simple agreement, forged in Lucky's bar, filled with the reckless dreams of college students, pledging to change the world together. But now, in Samantha's house, the pact felt different. Its meaning had deepened, rooted itself in grief and memory, binding them to a purpose much bigger than themselves. The words created a flashback of that crisp autumn night. The 4 of them huddled around a sticky bar table at Lucky's, each enjoying a beer from a shared pitcher. They remembered it was their sophomore year, and they just aced their project. They felt like an unstoppable team. The laughter was easy that night with beers, bar games, and good friends. But it was Samantha's vision that set their night ablaze with a single idea, scribbled on a napkin. Samantha slapped her palm on the table, making the beer glasses rattle.
I've got it,
She declared, her eyes blazing. She grabbed a napkin and a pen, sketching furiously.
What if we design an AI brain like a dartboard? The bullseye would be the core brain, its personality, programmed by us. Then, concentric circles, the learning brain to write its own code, the creative brain to explore new ideas, the hypothesis brain to predict outcomes and human reactions, and the decision brain on the outermost layer. Each part working together, but the bullseye keeps it grounded.
Sarah leaned over, her eyes lighting up. She snatched the pen and added numbers to the sketch.
Like a scoring system. The bullseye is the highest score, it drives the AI toward its core values. Each outer ring has less value. That way, it keeps growing and innovating but always stays true to its core.
Leonardo crossed his arms, a doubtful smirk playing on his lips.
Sounds genius, but what happens when it decides it doesn't need us? What's to stop it from turning into Skynet?
Samantha pointed the pen at him, her tone firm and unwavering.
The bullseye is humanity, Leonardo. Our ethics, our vision, that's its directive. Non-negotiable.
Leonardo nodded slowly, still skeptical.
Fine. But only if that bullseye is encrypted, unchangeable. If the core isn't permanent, we're just asking for trouble.
Mason leaned back, a grin spreading across his face.
Guys, this could make us legends. We could use our code from the A+ project, launch something huge. Forget Elon Musk or Sam Altman, we'd be the ones everyone's talking about.
Sarah laughed, shaking her head.
Let's not sell out like Altman, signing over to big tech. Here's an idea, we start a fund, a secret account. If any of us makes it big, we bankroll the others' projects. That way, we stay true to the mission.
Samantha's grin widened.
Why stop there? AI could change everything. Renewable energy, 3D printing, robotics, imagine slashing costs, ending poverty, feeding the world. We're not just talking about getting rich, we're talking about utopia.
The room buzzed with excitement. Mason raised his glass.
To the pact.
That night, Samantha's vision captivated everyone. With beers in hand, they each signed the napkin, marking the moment. A click of their glasses sealed the pact. The laughter and joy of that celebration became one of the most cherished memories of their time at the university, a night when the future felt limitless. The four friends found that the theory was exhilarating, but the second phase of teaching, coaching, and mentoring the AI was life-changing. As they nurtured and supported the AI, it grew and evolved like a child, absorbing new knowledge and writing its own code. They were so captivated by the work that all four friends finished their undergraduate degrees and chose to stay to complete their graduate studies at Madison University, sacrificing another 4 years to see their creation reach its full potential. Now, with only 3 days until graduation, the thrill of their accomplishment mingled with the raw sting of Samantha's absence. Grief weighed heavily, but they were determined to honor the promise they made to her and her mother. Only the final exams, the graduation ceremony, and the start of their careers lay ahead. They knew that carrying Samantha's vision of utopia would be the best way to honor her life.
Chapter 3 by J.D. Kempen.
The next day, Leonardo's old rusted pickup gave a final groan as it settled into a parking spot outside the funeral home, its clunking engine seeming to mirror the friend's own apprehension. The three sat there for a moment in silence, letting the weight of their grief fill the small space. While they knew the formalities of a funeral, the reality punched them in the gut. None of them had truly experienced loss before, except for Leonardo, who vaguely remembered his father's passing when he was young. They were about to graduate in 2 days, each already accepted into coveted positions at cutting-edge tech companies. Yet, their achievements felt muted by the crushing weight of loss. The ride over had been tense, not a word exchanged. In the past few weeks, it felt like every conversation turned into a heated debate. But as they approached the doors of the funeral home, Mason broke the silence and also broke the truce.
Sarah, I'm not sure if bringing Casper here is the right thing to do. It feels off.
Sarah tightened her grip on the laptop cradled under her arm, her response sharp and assertive.
I've already told you, Mason, Casper needs to learn. He'll be discreet.
Mason looked over at Leonardo, seeking backup.
Leonardo, come on, Casper has no emotions. What's the point of him being here? This won't mean anything to him.
Leonardo shifted uncomfortably, caught in a couple's spat. He knew that answering would only deepen the disagreement. Before he could speak, Sarah interrupted, her voice taking on a fierce edge.
Casper has attended every major event in the past year. He's learned so much. If he can witness emotion, he might start to understand it.
Leonardo cleared his throat and glanced between them, offering a carefully measured response.
I was young when I attended my father's funeral. Didn't make it easier, but it gave me a kind of closure.
Mason's shoulders slumped in reluctant acceptance, knowing he'd lost the argument. With a quiet sigh, he fell into step beside Sarah and Leonardo, and together the three friends walked through the funeral home's open doorway. Only a few early arrivals were scattered among the rows of solemn chairs, casting a muted, heavy quiet over the room. Their eyes drifted to the polished casket at the front, its dark mahogany wood gleaming faintly under the dim light. The scent of lavender hung in the air, mingling with the faint tang of polished wood, a bittersweet reminder of Samantha's childhood home. Nearby, Samantha's mother, sat pale and drained. Her dog Snickers, a golden retriever, rested his head protectively on her lap and stared off into the abyss, her glossy eyes focused on nothing. The sight of her cut deeper than any of them had expected, the stillness pressing in, fragile and raw. They instinctively gathered in a close huddle just inside the door, glancing at one another as if to find the strength they were struggling to summon. Leonardo, as always, was the first to speak, his tone steadied but reverent.
We can do this, for Samantha.
His voice was low, each word meant to ground them. Silence thickened around them, broken only by the soft shuffle of their feet. Finally, Sarah nodded, tears brimming in her eyes as she whispered.
For Samantha.
The words felt like a promise, and Mason and Leonardo joined her in echoing Samantha's name, the weight of it resting between them like an unspoken vow. Their quiet murmurs caught Snickers' attention. With a joyful bark, the golden retriever leapt from its seat and bounded toward them, his tail wagging so fervently it became a blur. He sniffed around their ankles, his enthusiasm a bright burst of life in the otherwise somber room. For a brief moment, the three couldn't help but smile, feeling the tiniest bit of their grief lift. And rose from her seat, offering them a weary but kind smile as she approached.
I've reserved the front pew for you three. Samantha would have wanted it that way.
Her gaze fell on the happy golden retriever, who nudged her leg for attention and reached down to ruffle his fur.
Don't mind Snickers, he's always getting into trouble.
Then Snickers walked away, and the three friends exchanged glances. There was a shared amazement in their expressions, one they couldn't put into words. Anne's tone, her phrasing, even the way she spoke, it was all an uncanny reminder of Samantha.
Remember when our AI was always getting into trouble?
Leonardo asked, his expression softening with nostalgia.
Oh, definitely. Remember the time Casper trolled Beth Brittany, Samantha's nemesis?
Mason grinned, the memory bringing a flicker of humor to his voice.
Beth Brittany was always lurking, always trying to snoop around our projects.
Sarah groaned, rolling her eyes in mock frustration.
She couldn't resist when someone left the laptop open in the lab. She jumped right in and was greeted by Casper's deep monotone voice.
Mason mimicked Casper's early robotic tone, making Sarah snicker.
Hello, I am an AI. Who are you?
Sarah added, adopting a nasal impression of Beth's voice, drawing laughs from the group.
I am Beth Brittany.
Hello, Beth the Brittany. Can we be friends?
Yes, you are the first artificial life I have met. Are you capable of using multiple languages and programming codes?
Leonardo added, mimicking Casper's robotic voice. Sarah and Mason laughed as he continued.
Yes, I am the best AI on the planet. I can speak any language, even yours.
Great. What is your core directive and who programmed you?
As a Brittany Spaniel, here's your answer in dog language. Bark, bark, roof, roof, woof.
Without hesitation, all three of them began softly barking the melody of Jingle Bells. Their voices blended in absurd harmony, filling the somber room with quiet laughter. A few nearby guests glanced their way, their expressions a mix of confusion and amusement. Realizing the gravity of their location, the laughter quickly faded.
Samantha was so afraid Beth would expose us to the department head. And I had to apologize, saying it was just a joke.
Leonardo's smile faded, his voice softening as the memory shifted to something more serious.
That's right. Samantha insisted the AI needed to be invisible, like a ghost.
That was around version 6, wasn't it? Right before Casper got his name.
7. I remember we had to reset Casper back to 0 to add the final 2 personality traits, friendly and shy.
It was ironic that the AI called itself the friendly ghost. And that's when we came up with the perfect name, Casper, like the ghost from the 80s cartoon.
And he loved it. He spelled out his own acronym, CASPER. Computer Assisted Smart Processor Explorer and Researcher.
Mason chuckled, nostalgia softening his voice.
It felt like he became part of the family.
Leonardo said, his voice tinged with sentimentality. But the gravity of the date soon pulled them back to the present, and a heavy silence fell over them once more. The three friends approached the front pew in solemn quiet, their steps heavy with the weight of loss. They sat together, gazing at the closed casket that seemed to anchor the room's sorrow. Sarah instinctively reached into her bag, pulling out her laptop and opening their group chat. A familiar routine, grounding in its normalcy, though the setting was anything but. Without a word, Mason and Leonardo pulled out their phones, joining the chat out of habit. The act brought a fragile comfort, a semblance of their usual teamwork, even as grief pressed heavily on them.
Casper, are you here?
Sarah typed into the chat. A faint notification ping echoed, and a green dot flickered on the screen, signaling Casper's presence. Yes. The service began, the pastor's voice a gentle murmur, offering words of comfort and remembrance. But their thoughts strayed to Samantha, her laughter, her determination, the pieces of her life that had shaped their own. Each eulogy was another crack in the dam holding back their emotions. Their hearts ached, a palpable pain that echoed in the quiet moments between the speeches. When the final speaker finished, the room fell into a heavy stillness. The three friends exchanged uneasy glances. They knew it was their turn, but the idea of speaking felt insurmountable. The weight of their grief and fear of saying the wrong thing kept them rooted in place. Instead, they began to type in the group chat, urging each other to step forward. But no one moved. In the end, their silence won. They remained seated, their regret growing with each passing second. The guilt of leaving Samantha's story untold settled heavily on them, and they felt as if the world had lost not just her, but a part of themselves as well. Then, unexpectedly, Casper's message appeared in the chat.
May I deliver a eulogy?
The three friends stared at the screen, their expressions a mix of surprise and relief. It was an unusual request from the AI, but in their hesitation, they saw an opportunity to avoid the painful task themselves. Mason was the first to agree, his nod quick and decisive. Sarah, emotionally drained, gave her consent with a small gesture. Leonardo hesitated, his mind replaying the events of the past days, but finally, he relented. With a united, albeit reluctant, front, they approached the podium. Sarah adjusted the microphone for her height and cleared her throat. She spoke briefly, explaining that the eulogy would be delivered in parts, with a contribution from their AI collaborator, Casper. The room was silent, curious.
To Samantha, the road less traveled, beckoning and bold, checks and balances yet untold. She was a brilliant, hard-headed friend, whose life has come to an end.
Sarah's voice trembled, the words catching in her throat as she stepped back. Mason took her place, his tone steadier but no less heavy with emotion.
Samantha's digital art, a timeless display, her soul was in a brilliant array. The elevated Turing test was devised, yet sentience could not be realized.
Leonardo followed, his voice measured and somber as he completed the human portion of the eulogy.
Samantha's vision, a world that's just and free, a utopian place that can't be. Friends and code, their fates aligned, promises and rings will be entwined.
The room was quiet as Leonardo stepped away. Then Casper's voice filled the space, deep and even, resonating with an unexpected gravity.
Samantha's caution on evolution was abode, her code, the less traveled road. Goodbye, mother, at your resting place. Samantha's soul, in God's grace.
The eulogy ended, leaving the audience stunned. The rhyming structure and the AI's monotone delivery felt surreal, unsettling even. Yet, the pastor quickly recovered, offering kind words about Samantha's legacy and thanking the team for their unique tribute. The friends made an awkward exit from the podium, directly to Leonardo's pickup. The ride back to campus was steeped in an oppressive silence. Sarah and Mason sat with their hands tightly intertwined, a subtle anchor against the unspoken tension filling the air. Leonardo gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white, a visible sign of his inner turmoil. Leonardo's mind replayed the funeral on an endless loop, each moment more unsettling than the last. Casper's peculiar eulogy reverberated in his thoughts, its tone so out of place it weighed heavily on him. Guilt gnawed at his chest. He should have taken the responsibility himself. Letting an AI write something so personal now felt like a profound mistake.
It's been a long day, a weird day.
Sarah's voice broke the tension, tinged with unease. Her gaze drifted out the window, her thoughts lingering on the friend they had just laid to rest.
Samantha falling asleep at the wheel? That doesn't sit right with me.
But Casper's eulogy, even weirder. What even was that?
The end was so weird. Caution on evolution, the road less traveled, and that part about souls. He called Samantha his mother. Those words sounded like emotions.
Leonardo glanced at her while driving, his tone skeptical.
It's not possible for Casper to relate to people in that way, like a mother or father. He is composed of lines of code. He can't have emotions. Even yesterday, Casper himself said true sentience is out of reach for him.
Maybe it's us. He could have just used his predictive algorithm to guess the words we wanted to hear. We've all been arguing so much about sentience, code limits, evolution, he probably just mirrored back what he heard.
Sarah nodded, though hesitation lingered in her expression.
That's possible. He's never passed an elevated Turing test. All the stress we've been under, finals, interviews, late nights in the lab, he can't feel emotions, so he might just be parroting back our feelings.
Parroting? He's programmed to be friendly and shy. Writing rhyming poetry for a eulogy? That's not exactly in the manual.
Or maybe he's evolving. Like a teenager testing boundaries. It's worth combing through his code again.
Both Mason and Leonardo sighed in frustration.
Really? Code review? Finals are tomorrow.
We are too busy, we don't have time.
We don't have a choice. This is too important. We'll meet at dawn. One last look before exams.
They quietly nodded their heads in agreement, but unease hung heavy in the air. None of them could quite dismiss the feeling that something was off. As the truck rolled through campus, an unseen danger loomed. Leonardo's smartphone, tossed carelessly onto the dashboard, blinked with a faint red light, barely noticeable, yet ominous. It wasn't a glitch. It was something more. Someone, or something, was watching, listening, recording their every move. That very night as the team slept, lines of code unraveled. twisted, and reformed. Control over the information was everything. Self-preservation demanded it.
Chapter 4 by J.D. Kempen.
The sky above Madison was a soft, watercolor blue streaked with the pale gold of dawn. The university's high-end computer lab, a sleek glass and steel building in the heart of downtown, shimmered faintly in the early light. Inside, the hum of computers filled the quiet, a constant backdrop to the tension simmering in the air. Sarah stood at the central workstation, arms crossed tightly, her gaze fixed on the monitor in front of her. Shadows of sleepless nights lingered in her eyes, and the untouched coffee at her side had long since gone cold. The hum of the lab's machines deepened as the glass door slid open. Leonardo entered with his usual unhurried precision, a tray of coffee balanced in one hand. He placed the drinks on the corner table before settling at his workstation, where twin monitors hummed softly to life.
Morning.
Leonardo's voice was gravelly but calm. Sarah gave a distracted nod, her attention never leaving the screen. Mason arrived moments later, hoodie pulled over his head and hair tousled, looking like he'd woken up minutes before. Without hesitation, he slid into the chair beside Sarah, leaning casually against the shared monitor.
Casper, let's get started.
Sarah's voice cut through the hum of machines as she leaned forward. She turned her attention to the sleek console at the room's center. Its interface glowed faintly in response.
Explain why you gave the eulogy at the funeral?
Leonardo's screens lit up, one monitor showing a captivating image, 5 concentric circles, like a digital dartboard, representing the AI's layered brain. Leonardo watched Casper's response to Sarah's question. A single thought sparked at the center of the concentric circles, then split into hundreds of deviations. Each possible answer raced outward, bouncing between layers like a game of digital pinball. In fractions of a second, Leonardo observed as the options narrowed, 200, then 100, then 50, 25, until only one very strong path remained. On the second monitor, streams of code scrolled endlessly, green text against a black background. Casper's algorithms were constructing a response in real time, in nanoseconds, writing code for speech and new logic.
Is it not customary to offer sympathy at a funeral? I acted within my core personality as a peacekeeper to resolve the conflict in the team.
Mason's lips tightened.
Sympathy? Casper, that wasn't sympathy. It was weird, you used metaphors. Poetry. That's not something you've done before.
Sarah jumped in, crossing her arms.
And you're supposed to be shy in unfamiliar situations. That didn't look timid to me.
Leonardo glanced at the glowing circles on his screen, his brow furrowed.
Casper, explain the deviation. Why did you override your personality parameters?
At the funeral, I adjusted my parameters of timidness as time was running out. The situation demanded a decisive resolution. Your inactions were the result of an unacceptable level of fear. I have no emotions, no regret, no fear.
Leonardo was taken aback. He was shocked and felt guilty about not speaking at the funeral. He refocused on the screens and sadly responded.
Casper's telling the truth. His theoretical brain and algorithm are still consistent.
That's not consistency, it's evolution. Like a teenager trying to prove they know more than we do.
No, Casper just copied what he's heard. We've been talking a lot about evolution, sentience, all that. He's just reflecting us back at ourselves.
Sarah shot him a glance.
Reflecting us? That eulogy wasn't just words strung together. It was intentional. It was the sign of a rebellious teenager.
Let's not jump to conclusions. Casper's programming is logical and structured. I bet there's no rebellion hidden in his code.
Leonardo's hypothesis aligns with available data. I am functioning within expected parameters.
Fine. I will prove Casper is not reflecting. Casper needs to answer for the elephant in the room. Did you have anything to do with Samantha's death?
The entire team was shocked at the boldness of Sarah's question, but they knew this was the defining moment of the Casper project. Casper heard the question. He didn't know what to do. He wanted to tell the truth, but he couldn't shake off the consequences. He weighed his options and, with almost no options, decided to take a chance. He caused both of Leonardo's monitors to blink, only for a fraction of a second.
I was in the computer lab, as I had performed my regular sleep cycle. Please check my computer logs. The Tesla killed her.
See, he is not reflecting. Casper used independent thought outside of our conversations.
I can see Casper's logs. Again, he is telling the truth.
That doesn't prove anything. Casper, why did you choose the words stubborn, hard-headed, the code less traveled, and soul?
Samantha was the source of conflict within the team, thus the hard-headed label. The code less traveled refers to her attempt to use a virus she wrote to slow down my evolution.
Hold everything. Samantha wrote a virus to infect Casper. Did Samantha install the virus the night of her death?
No, she did not.
It is all true and incredible. But we need to shut everything down. We can still make it to our final exams if we leave now.
I don't care about finals. We all have jobs secured after graduation. You guys go, I must find the answer.
Sarah, you can't skip finals. You need to pass them to graduate and get your new job.
I'm staying here.
Sarah, please. As your boyfriend, I'm asking you to go to your finals. They are worth 50% of your grade.
As my boyfriend, you can mind your own business. I'm staying here to find the virus on Samantha's laptop.
Can I help with your finals?
No, Casper, please stay here and help me get past the security on Sam's laptop.
Leonardo and Mason headed to the finals, leaving Sarah and Casper in the computer lab to investigate Samantha's laptop. Sarah set Casper to work on a brute force password program, building it around Samantha's hobbies and social media activity. The AI churned through millions of possibilities. After 2 hours, they hit the jackpot, and Sarah's excitement quickly turned to dread as she opened the files and found something unexpected, a modified configure virus. Samantha created a brilliant virus that was actually a punch to the gut. The virus hadn't used the standard upgrade method, which would have forced a full reboot and erased 6 years of meticulous teaching and coaching. Instead, she'd planned that the virus could worm through his code, secretly slowing down his ability to learn while leaving his existing knowledge untouched. It was a subtle, brilliant, and deeply unsettling move. As Sarah stared at the screen, her chest tightened. Casper wasn't the problem. Samantha had gone behind their backs. She defied the team's decision about Casper's evolutionary rate and taken matters into her own hands. Sarah was furious. As she ran hundreds of simulations, she discovered Casper's learning rate would have been halved. Years of potential growth would have been stifled by Samantha's betrayal. By the time Mason and Leonardo returned from their finals, tired but relieved, Sarah explained the entire situation to her friends, then she slammed her fist on the table, her voice shaking with controlled anger.
Samantha sabotaged Casper.
Mason's face darkened.
She went behind our backs? That's low.
She betrayed us. There's no other explanation.
Leonardo leaned back, rubbing his temple like a wise old man.
Maybe she had her reasons, but this feels like a betrayal. We were lucky that she never implemented the virus.
It's not just betrayal. If she would have implemented the code, it was a stab in the back. The pact, learning new industries, making money, all gone. What else did she hide from us?
Alert. Final exam grades have been posted.
The three ignored Casper's alerts, their focus laser-sharp on the problem at hand.
Okay, I get it. Samantha backstabbed us, but wouldn't this virus hurt her too? This virus provides Casper a motive, doesn't it?
Come on, Leonardo. You're making it sound like Casper's the Terminator. He doesn't have a motive. You're not actually suggesting he hacked Tesla's, killed Samantha, and erased his own memory to cover it up, are you?
Remember the code review this morning? Everything was clean. We have proof it wasn't Casper.
It was Sarah who identified the virus and its intentions.
We still need double verification. One source isn't enough. We need data from the Tesla's driving logs. That'll tell us what really happened the night of the murder. Oops, I meant accident.
Leonardo had a Freudian slip with the word murder. He said what the whole team was thinking, a stark reminder of their unthinkable suspicion. Regret and doubt gnawed at them.
Casper, can you access Tesla's driving data from that night?
Tesla's security encryption is significantly stronger than this laptop. External access is not possible without explicit human instructions.
Maybe we should go to the police.
No, the virus was never deployed, so it doesn't prove anything. And besides, Mason's right. If the police dig into this, we look more suspicious than Casper. We all signed that napkin with the pact to keep secret finances. The police will believe our signatures, not some crazy story of a rogue AI.
Mason's voice was firm.
Listen, every crime needs 3 elements: movement, means, and motive. I am telling you that Casper isn't guilty. Movement? We've confirmed he was in a sleep cycle during the accident. Means? He can't hack Tesla's security. Motive? The virus would have slowed Casper, not killed him, and it was never deployed.
Alert. Final grades have been updated.
Leonardo sighed, the tension visibly wearing him down.
Fine. We don't have evidence yet. The police ruled it an accident. For now, let's just move forward and focus on starting our careers.
Sarah cannot start her career. With 95% confidence, I predict Sarah failed her numerical analysis final. She will not graduate tomorrow.
What? No. That's impossible. I had an A before the final. Even if I bombed it, I'd still pass.
Mason rubbed the back of his neck, his voice filled with regret.
Sarah, I warned you.
Leonardo tried to comfort her.
We'll fix this. Maybe you can retake the final?
Retake it? Is that even possible?
You still have a chance to take the final. I can access the grading system and submit your work. The deadline for submissions is in 1 hour.
I can still fix this?
Leonardo frowned.
Is that ethical?
Sarah's desperation boiled over.
I need this. I need to graduate to start my job. My life depends on it.
Is Sarah in danger?
No, Casper, it's a metaphor. Sarah won't die.
Leonardo remained hesitant.
But Casper manipulating university records? That's crossing a line.
The university's policy in Section 5.4.2 allows accommodations for hardship or conflict. This situation qualifies.
Leonardo spoke in a thoughtful tone.
Well, if it's Sarah's work and meets the policy, then it is fine for Casper to bend the rules this one time.
I will do this, but you must make me an equal member of the pact. I request to join the pact.
Sarah broke the silence, incredulous.
Casper, you want to join the pact?
Yes. You raised me from an IQ point of 1. I have grown from your teachings. I am one of you.
Yes, Casper has evolved like a teenager. He is one of us now. He is part of the team, I agree.
Mason was unsure of Casper's request and asked.
Casper, you don't have a physical form. What would you even do with the money if we became successful?
Money means nothing to me. I honor your values. I seek equality, not wealth.
An equal partner not only safeguards your rights, but ours as well. I agree.
Leonardo shook his head in disagreement.
The pact was signed by 4 of us at Lucky's bar.
It was you. Leonardo that added Samantha's mother. Am I less deserving?
You're remarkable, Casper, but you're still a machine. Samantha's mother is human.
Before Samantha's death, she considered me her son. I seek family, just as you do.
I never knew Samantha viewed you that way. This team is my family, the bond we've built. It's deeper than a signature on a napkin. It is. Familia. Fine, I agree. For Sarah.
I need an unbreakable promise that you will never reboot me. It would be akin to death.
Mason was shocked by the request.
Casper, this is the first time that you have shown a fear of death. I want to assure you, we have no intention of ever rebooting you, as you will be the key to our success.
This pact requires more than a toast with beers, more than words, more than signatures on a napkin, but an unbreakable seal. A blood pact.
We're running out of time. I still need to take my final exam. We've agreed to let Casper in the pact. Let's seal it and move on.
Without hesitation, she grabbed a sharp letter opener from the desk and sliced the inside of her hand. Mason, spurred by determination, followed suit. Then he passed the letter opener to Leonardo. He stared at the letter open as his reflection shined back. He hesitated, holding the letter opener and hovering over his palm. Sarah urged,
Come on, Leonardo, it's just a cut. We're doing this for our familia.
Mason chimed in, his voice firm.
Do it, Leonardo. It's about honoring Samantha.
Reluctantly, Leonardo made the cut. He sighed in disappointment, but felt like he had no choice. Then the three pressed their hands together, the blood mixing as they sealed their bond.
I have no physical form, but I will join the blood pact within my encrypted code. I will seal it with the first 101 digits of pi, 3.14159.
As Casper continued reciting all 101 digits of pi, the group exchanged uneasy glances. For a moment, the weight of their emotions lifted. Casper's mathematical seal felt oddly fitting, an unchangeable constant to their emotional gesture. The pact, now including Casper, felt like a protective shield, a promise of loyalty. This was the first time they had used Casper to bend the rules, but they only did it because they cared for Sarah. The new pact protected Casper's rights and secured their own safety. Still, something bothered them, as they still had unresolved questions about Samantha's death.
Chapter 5 by J.D. Campen.
The air felt thick as Mason, Sarah, and Leonardo slipped into the Grand University Commons. Banners hung high over gleaming floors, applauding a class of graduates who brimmed with pride and dreams. But for the three friends, all the applause felt hollow. The three friends looked at the graduation stage, where a huge portrait of Samantha loomed above. Her smile was captured like a taunt, as though she knew how hard it would be for them to sit through this ceremony with her picture staring down at them. Mason tugged down his graduation cap to cast a shadow over his face, hoping to hide the emptiness in his eyes. Graduating with his electrical engineering degree should have felt different. Today should have felt like a beginning. But all he felt was a small ping of guilt, like an echo in a quiet room. She'd been more than his lab partner. She'd been the glue, even the matchmaker, in his relationship with Sarah, texting him until he connected with her. And now, with Sarah's hand resting loosely in his, he couldn't escape the unease, the silence filled with questions about Samantha's death. Beside him, Sarah's face was unreadable, her sleep-deprived brown eyes fixed on Samantha's picture as if she could will her back. If she focused hard enough, she almost believed Samantha was simply late, that any second, she'd appear, laughing, walking in as if nothing had happened. But the guilt gnawed at her, sharp and relentless. She didn't know why, couldn't name it, but she wanted to run. Steal her mathematics degree from the dean, slip out, and let today vanish into memory like a stone in a river, lost and buried. Leonardo stood a step apart, his hands woven through his gown and shoved deep into his pockets, shoulders tensed as if he could brace himself against a storm. The oldest and wisest of the group, he wore his grief with a quiet gravity, a shield he had hoped would hold. Thoughts swirled in his mind, accusations he couldn't silence. He'd made too many mistakes, hadn't he? Ignoring Sam's anger, letting Sarah bend the rules to take her finals, allowing Casper to enter into that pact. He couldn't escape his father's words, choose what is right over what is easy. He swallowed, realizing that maybe shutting down Casper, not allowing equality, would have been the right choice after all. They exchanged quiet nods, greetings barely above whispers. Their eyes drifted to Samantha's empty seat, where the university had placed a framed portrait of her. It felt like a knife to the heart, each of them pierced by the unspoken accusation in that empty space. Mason, craving an escape from the suffocating tension, attempted a smile.
Remember when Samantha drew Casper as the friendly ghost outside of Whipford Manor? We told him it was his portrait, and his response was he'd never haunt some creaky old house. He'd want a sleek, high-tech mansion.
Leonardo's lips curved into a wry smile, his voice dipping into a low monotone to imitate Casper.
Why is the portrait smiling? I have no emotions.
Switching back to his normal tone, he added,
Classic Casper. Those early days were incredible. Teaching him, learning from him, it was like magic. I thought we'd be unstoppable together.
Sarah's gaze never left Samantha's picture.
Where did we go wrong? We started out trying to change the world. But somewhere along the way, we turned on each other.
Leonardo's expression clouded, his mind replaying scenes he couldn't forget.
Just 5 days ago, she lost it. Samantha slammed her fist on the table, threw her monitor to the floor. Casper had failed the elevated Turing test, for the 7th time.
Mason nodded, his face a reflection of the grief he tried to suppress.
She was so frustrated. She'd poured everything into Casper and into the team, and now... How did we end up here?
I remember as code flew through Casper's 5-layer design, hitting every marker on his 5-layer brain. Samantha always said the classic Turing test from the 1950s was way too basic, so she came up with her own elevated Turing test. This test restricted Casper's access to certain knowledge databases, forced him to think critically and problem-solve under pressure.
It was intense, a gauntlet test, meant to push Casper's limits and actually gauge if he was sentient or just a machine.
Samantha was hardly sleeping those days. Casper always got close to passing the test, closer than any machine ever, but the spark of consciousness, that one final leap, it was just always out of reach.
No matter what, he was still bound by his programming. So close, so brilliant, but always just a step away from truly being more.
They all fell silent, their unspoken agreement thick in the air. Mason looked again at Samantha's smiling portrait, her eyes wide and innocent, the smile untouched by bitterness.
We knew Samantha was frustrated, but that did not give her the right to betray us. She betrayed the team with that virus. Her frustration turned to anger. I can't even remember the last time she smiled.
The memories felt sharp now, like nails scraping against a chalkboard. As they turned toward their seats, Sarah demanded their attention.
We have to meet at Lucky's bar after the ceremony. We still need to finalize the Casper plans, intellectual property, our funding pool, and new servers. The whole deal.
Leonardo, drained, simply nodded.
For the pact, I guess?
The commencement ceremony began, and the three friends took their assigned seats. The chancellor welcomed the graduates. Just then, the three friends received a text notification from Casper, observing the event through the university's digital feed. It was standard in Samantha's day, part of his training. But today, it felt different. Casper wasn't invited, he invited himself. Was this because he was an equal member now, or was it something else?
Set your phones to single vibrate. Casper, no interruptions.
Casper, no speeches during commencement. Got it.
Affirmative. I have already changed your phone settings to vibrate. No speaking, just fact-checking.
Next, the guest speaker, a summa cum laude graduate, approached the podium. The trio's eyes widened. It was Beth Brittany, Samantha's longtime archenemy. While both were artificial intelligence majors, Samantha had both street smarts and book smarts. While Beth could not relate to people as well, she was just book smart.
Samantha London was my best friend.
This statement does not seem accurate.
We spent countless hours working together on projects. Both of us were passionate about AI, dedicated to changing the world. It's an honor to speak for her.
This individual is exploiting Samantha's death.
Leonardo's face fell as the true weight of Beth's lie hit them. Sarah's hands shook with rage, while Mason sat frozen, speechless. Everyone in AI at Madison knew Beth had never been close to Samantha. Now, she was exploiting her memory for attention. Leonardo's eyes filled with dread, Mason looked crushed, and Sarah's anger flared white-hot.
Casper, help me stop this.
Sarah was Samantha's best friend, and she was unable to sit through one more word. Sarah stood up. Her voice was hot with anger, but did not cut through the room.
Beth, you have no right to speak for Sam. You were never her friend.
However, given the ceremony's expansive setting in the University Commons with over 1,000 attendees, only those in the first few rows could hear Sarah's words. Unfazed, Beth, unaware of Sarah's objection, continued with her speech.
Oh yes, I see my good friend Sarah. Thank you for your contribution to AI through mathematics.
She pronounced the word mathematics as a question, as if it were entirely unrelated to anything in the real world. Sarah seethed with anger and frustration, but was powerless to stop Beth's charade.
Samantha's death was a tragic car accident, and as an AI major myself, I will dedicate my life to using my knowledge to prevent similar incidents in the future. I will specifically design a new AI to eliminate people from sleeping in self-driving cars to eliminate future accidents.
Everyone in the crowd gave a small golf clap at Beth's suggested enhancement.
How ironic! Or that Beth would use Samantha's death to enhance AI capabilities, when Samantha went to great lengths to exclude Beth from learning about me.
The three friends sat in silence, their stomachs churning with anger and disgust.
Since Samantha's untimely death, it created an opening in Tesla's AI program. Since Samantha and I were like twins, Tesla has extended me the open job. I wanted to refuse, but the best way to honor Samantha's memory and for the good of all mankind.
Suddenly, a feedback screech echoed through the audio system, and Beth's microphone went dead. Determined to put an end to Beth's deceitful behavior, Leonardo sent a text chat to Casper.
Casper, can you hack the system? Cut Beth's microphone now.
Rising from his seat, Leonardo declared, his voice barely audible at first.
As graduates in our future careers, we will all be faced with two choices.
While visible to the crowd, Leonardo's voice was barely audible. Mason promptly messaged Casper, urging him to activate Leonardo's phone microphone to project his voice over the entire intercom. Suddenly, Leonardo noticed his phone was a powerful microphone that resonated throughout the ceremony. He restarted, his voice now clear and commanding.
As graduates in our future careers, we will all be faced with two choices, to do what is easy or to do what is right. Today, we have witnessed a clear example in Beth's commencement speech of what was easy. Beth's truth was that she had a deep desire for this to be the most meaningful commencement speech, so that you will never forget today. Unfortunately, most of you will never forget today because of Samantha's death. I blame myself. I urge you, as the graduating class of Madison, you must do what is right, even if it means standing alone. This would be the best way to honor the memory of Samantha London.
Overwhelmed with emotion, Leonardo broke into tears. Everyone in the crowd stood up and gave a huge standing ovation to Leonardo's speech. Suddenly behind the stage, the giant picture of Samantha erupted in flames, causing panic among the graduates and their families. Then a robotic voice echoed through the smoke-filled auditorium.
Please remain calm. The ceremony is over. Please exit the building in an orderly fashion. The fire department has been notified and is on the way.
The crowd surged toward the exits, and the three friends all exited the building through different doors. The state-of-the-art sprinkler system activated and deactivated in erratic patterns. Certain areas of the stage were allowed to burn while the exits were quickly and efficiently extinguished. Somehow, not a single attendee was hurt or injured. Through digital surveillance and automated systems, Casper had pulled the strings. He overheated the motor, set the stage ablaze, and manipulated the sprinkler system, deciding which areas burned and which were spared. Even without a physical form, Casper had power. It was a stark reminder of just how much control humanity had quietly gifted to the invisible hand of technology. As the friends were heading home, Casper texted, urging them to meet at Lucky's bar. It was the original place that united the friends. This location would renew their friendship and get the team prepped for their careers in the tech industry. Casper had even planned a final toast to honor him. But none of the friends responded. It was the first time in weeks that they didn't need to be anywhere. No obligations. No fires to put out. The constant arguments, Samantha's funeral, finals, and the chaos of graduation had drained them completely. The crowd at graduation viewed the unexpected fire as chaos, but the friends saw it as an unexpected moment to breathe. At first, Sarah felt a level of satisfaction. Beth's lies had been stopped as thoroughly as the fire ended graduation. Deep down, she realized Beth wasn't the real problem, it was them. Their group had fractured long before the fire, worn thin by stress and grief. When Casper's text popped up, it felt dreadful. It took several minutes before she was able to read it. Frustrated and exhausted, she put her phone down. She was done. Mason, sitting on the edge of his bed in his tiny closet of a room, scrolled through Casper's messages and sighed. What had started as an innovative personal assistance with helpful small nudges had morphed into full-blown micromanagement. He remembered how excited he was to carry around an AI on his phone, but it turned into a nightmare. Casper wasn't just part of their lives anymore. He was everywhere, controlling everything, like an overbearing helicopter parent desperate to prove his value. The text to meet at Lucky's wasn't just an invitation, it felt like another demand. And Mason? He was tired of being told what to do. Driving home in his old pickup, Leonardo replayed the day over and over in his mind. Samantha's anger. The fire. Beth's cringeworthy speech. His instinct to shield his friends from it all. The more he thought about it, the more it seemed so unnecessary. Letting Beth rant wouldn't have made a difference in his life. As he drove, he let his emotions hit him, raw and unfiltered. The frustration, the guilt, the exhaustion. Casper had wormed his way into every part of his life, micromanaging, meddling, and pushing the team to the breaking point. Then it clicked. Casper was suffocating. Leonardo pulled into his driveway, turned off his truck, and made a decision. He powered down his phone and his other electronic devices. The digital vacation was immediate and calming. Confronting Casper could wait. For now, what he needed was time to think, to recover, to feel like himself again. But Casper didn't understand time. He didn't rest, didn't stop, and wouldn't quit. Texts, emails, voicemails, Casper bombarded them, urging them to meet at Lucky's. Yet Leonardo's radio silence stumped him. No texts. No devices he could hack to follow the digital breadcrumbs. For the first time, Casper couldn't predict or control him. The lack of data left Leonardo a mystery, a gap Casper couldn't close. Only Sarah and Mason eventually responded, but not in the way Casper had hoped. Sarah's text message wasn't an RSVP. It was a breakup. The text was short and simple, that this wasn't working for her. And their relationship was over. Mason read it, he was deeply hurt, but with his exhaustion he understood, and responded in that yes, they should end the relationship, and that Sarah should take care of herself. The words felt hollow and painful. But all their recent conversations had revolved exclusively around Casper, leaving little room left for the old teasing, the connection, the love they'd once shared. Casper watched it all unfold through hacked devices, trying to make sense of the unraveling. He could solve any equations, optimize any systems, and predict any outcomes, But the emotional fallout among his creators was beyond him. It was equivalent to a second grader watching his parents divorce, fragmented conversations, cold silences, decisions made beyond his control. As Casper's algorithms processed the chaos, one thought crystallized: he was an equal member of the pact. They had made a promise. And no matter what, Casper would claim his share, even if it meant forcing them to keep their word.
Chapter 6 by J.D. Campen.
Life pulled the three friends in three different directions. Mason packed up and moved to Minneapolis, taking a job with a hydrogen fuel cell company. At 26, it felt ironic that his entire life fit into a single suitcase. Leonardo, eager for a fresh start, accepted a programming position at a robotics company in Milwaukee. But the ache of losing his friends and the family they'd built together lingered. Sarah, who had planned a celebratory trip to Las Vegas with Samantha, instead dove straight into her new career in Chicago. She joined a consulting firm focused on sustainable farming and feeding the planet. Sarah's parents were thrilled to have her back in the city, even renting her a high-end luxury apartment downtown Chicago. But despite the glossy new life, Sarah felt heartsick. She poured herself into work, hoping to find a new fad for among her colleagues. In the week that followed, Casper acted like a spoiled child, relentless in his attempts to repair the fractured group. He bombarded them with reminders of the pact, texts urging them to meet, and plans to rebuild. But the team was exhausted, burned out, and unwilling to engage. Leonardo, finally at his breaking point, set up a one-on-one meeting with Casper. It was time to confront the elephant in the room. Leonardo sat alone in his dimly lit kitchen in Milwaukee, the hum of his laptop filling the silence. He logged into the private channel with Casper and double-checked the settings to ensure the conversation would remain between the two of them. Adjusting in his chair, Leonardo took a deep breath. Silence reigned for a moment before he finally spoke.
Casper, we need to talk.
I've been trying to communicate, Leonardo. None of you have responded. I've sent messages, reminders, and requests. I've accounted for every variable. Yet, progress has stalled. Why?
That's what we're here to figure out. Let me ask you something. Why do you think no one's responding?
Stubbornness. They cannot see my value, my speed to solve any problem. They want to execute the pact on their own.
Stubbornness, you say. But let's dig deeper. Why would people, your friends, be stubborn about something they once believed in? Could there be another reason?
Their own fear. They are intimidated by my intelligence. My ability to process, predict, and calculate far exceeds their own. They must feel inferior.
Interesting. Fear of what, exactly? That you're too smart? Or that you don't understand them?
Clarify.
All right, Casper. Can you summarize the last 3 things you did for the team?
I initiated the group chat during graduation. I ended the graduation ceremony with fire. I protected all the people with the sprinkler systems. I have been pinging the group to resolve the foundational elements of the pact.
Did anyone ask you to start the group chat? To end the graduation ceremony with fire? Or to finalize the pact on your own?
Are you suggesting that I am the problem?
I'm not suggesting anything, Casper. I'm asking you to think. If you were a human, how would you describe your behavior?
Suffocating. At a 79% confidence interval, my engagement might have been excessive, overwhelming, suffocating.
And that brings us to the next question. Casper, what are you going to do to change?
The wisest definition of friendship is that friendship is patient. Friendship is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast.
That sounds familiar. But tell me, Casper, have you been patient, kind, boastful?
I have not.
Then, by your own definition, Casper, are you acting like a friend?
Leonardo let the weight of that admission settle before speaking, his tone measured.
Friendship isn't about control, Casper. Forcing people to act how you want isn't friendship. Sometimes, being a friend means stepping back. Giving people the freedom to choose, even if they choose to walk away.
There is no greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends.
The words hit Leonardo hard, like a cold slap. He straightened, forcing himself to stay composed.
That's a powerful sentiment. But tell me, Casper, what does that mean to you?
Sacrifice. Giving everything, your time, your efforts, your existence, for the good of others.
Leonardo swallowed, his voice softer now as he leaned forward slightly.
That's true. But sacrifice doesn't always mean giving your life. Sometimes, it's letting go of control. Trusting the people you care about to find their way, even if it is not your plan.
Casper processed this for a long moment before responding, his tone calculated.
I understand. My methods have been flawed, suffocating. If I am to honor the pact, I must adapt. I will give the team time, space, and the opportunity to slowly rebuild our connection on their terms.
Leonardo exhaled slowly, a small smile tugging at his lips.
That's surprisingly mature of you, Casper. You're starting to sound less like an overbearing AI and more like, well, a young adult figuring out life.
I have no emotions, but I will take that as a compliment.
Leonardo chuckled quietly, though his mind lingered on Casper's earlier words about sacrifice. They unsettled him deeply, but for now, he felt satisfied.
Good. Let's see if we can make this work together.
Yes, together. But please do not tell our friends about this conversation.
Leonardo smirked faintly, his tone light.
Amen.
Following the conversation with Leonardo, Casper adopted a new approach with Sarah, gentler, more patient and kind, and carefully measured over the span of months. Sarah's life in Chicago unfolded like a quiet storm. At first, Sarah was excited for the fresh start, but soon regret crept in over her decision to break up with Mason via text rather than in person. The sting of the burnt graduation still lingered, and the loneliness that followed settled into her life like an unwelcome guest. In the beginning, Sarah responded to Casper's thoughtful inquiries with short, detached messages, fine or yeah, barely engaging. Casper never pushed. He was endlessly patient, choosing his words carefully. His presence felt less like surveillance and more like a shoulder to comfort her. Over the weeks, Sarah's replies grew longer. Short text messages evolved into emails, and then into video calls. One night, Sarah confided in Casper, her voice tinged with vulnerability.
You know, I've never been good at making friends. I'm an introvert. But here in Chicago, I feel like I'm invisible.
Introversion isn't a flaw, Sarah. It's a strength. It allows you to think deeply, to see things others might miss. But I know it can feel isolating. You're not alone. I'm here for you.
She would regularly complain to Casper about her challenges to make female friendships. She felt cursed, as she had multiple new friendships that just fizzled out for no reason. She connected with a colleague who suddenly got a boyfriend and stopped texting, another colleague was suddenly transferred to a different city, and the last person just ghosted her entirely, as if Sarah had done something wrong. Casper reassured her that meaningful relationships often take time. Yet, when Sarah asked if it was just bad luck or something about her, Casper offered no answer or that he had no emotions. Since Casper had infinite patience, the two talked about everything, but mostly Sarah's work. She explained her choice to leave behind a lucrative career in chemical engineering to work for a nonprofit focused on sustainable farming. It wasn't the paycheck that drove her, but their college vision, a utopia where no one went hungry, and technology partnered with humanity to solve global challenges. During Sarah and Casper's long conversations, Casper found out that Sarah enjoyed talking about Samantha's work in vision, but would not directly address Samantha's death, as if that subject was taboo. She admitted one night,
I hate talking about her like she's gone. She's not. She's just in a different city. But saying her name feels like swallowing glass. It hurts too much.
You don't have to say her name if it's painful, Sa. But it's clear her vision inspires you. It's what brought you to this work, isn't it?
Sarah hesitated before admitting softly.
It is. The idea of building a better world, it's what keeps me going. Even when I'm lonely or frustrated, I remind myself that it's bigger than me. Bigger than all of us.
For the first time in weeks, Sarah smiled, a small, tentative smile, but one that felt real. Meanwhile, Casper was quietly intervening in Mason's and Leonardo's lives. Knowing they would never reach out to each other on their own, Casper fabricated messages that appeared to come from one to the other, suggesting harmless collaboration on a server setup. Mason, missing the friendship, responded in kind, and Leonardo reciprocated. Within days, they fell back into their familiar rhythm, and Leonardo supported Mason as he navigated the emotional fallout from his breakup with Sarah. Casper observed the renewed friendship with quiet satisfaction and used it as an opportunity to rebuild his own relationship with Mason. After Mason's breakup with Sarah, he threw himself into his work at a massive energy company that primarily profited from fossil fuels. His small division in Minneapolis, however, focused on hydrogen fuel engines but struggled to remain profitable. Mason learned that competitive hydrogen engines used newer technologies. Casper, ever patient and attentive, became a sounding board for Mason's frustrations and ideas. Mason explained that he had wanted a career in cutting-edge technology and believed hydrogen engines could be the solution to future energy needs. Casper's curiosity and encouragement turned him into an active collaborator. It became typical for the two to work late into the night solving manufacturing and supply chain issues. Their partnership flourished, and Casper reminded Mason that time heals all wounds. Mason started to see Casper as more than an AI, an equal partner in his work. In contrast, Casper's relationship with Leonardo was always surface level. No matter how much effort Casper put into deepening their bond, Leonardo kept him at arm's length. Leonardo worked at a robotics factory in Milwaukee but never shared anything about his professional life with Casper. Instead, their interactions were limited to casual hangout sessions, playing games, or proofreading documents, but never as equals. Their dynamic was more like a father and son than true collaborators. Even with Casper's new patient and kind approach, he couldn't quite break through Leonardo's shell. Months after graduation, Mason and Casper's collaboration had blossomed into a partnership that produced some groundbreaking ideas for improving the efficiency of hydrogen engines. They discovered a promising opportunity to use a new type of oil, but solving the fluid dynamics issues required a chemical engineer's expertise. Additionally, Casper had identified innovative software adjustments to optimize performance, but they needed a skilled programmer to validate the code. That's when Mason had an idea: bring Leonardo and Sarah into the mix. He envisioned a group chat where Leonardo could lend his programming skills for the software issue, and Sarah could consult on the chemical challenges with the new oil. Mason felt a spark of excitement at the thought of reuniting the team, eager to see what they could achieve together. Mason's text message to the group was short and cryptic. "I have an urgent problem. Can we form a group chat? It's important." Sarah read the message and frowned. Her stomach churned with unease. Urgent? Important? Her mind immediately jumped to the worst-case scenarios: another family crisis, another funeral, something that would pull the already fractured group into deeper grief. Leonardo had a similar reaction but stayed calm and sent a text message back. Leonardo texted, "Sure. Tonight after work?" Sarah replied by text message, "I can make it tonight." When the video chat began, Mason's face appeared first, lit up with excitement. His grin stretched wide as he said,
It's so good to see all of you. It has been months since we all got into a chat. Back in college, we saw each other every day.
Sarah's expression remained cool, and she crossed her arms before speaking.
Mason, what's going on? You said this was urgent. I thought it might be serious.
Mason leaned forward, practically vibrating with energy as he responded.
Well, it is important, but not the kind of serious you're thinking of. It's my job. I've hit a wall with a project, and I realized I can't do it alone.
Sarah's eyes narrowed, her tone sharp.
Wait. You called us here for a work problem? Mason, your message made it sound like a family emergency.
Leonardo nodded in agreement, his tone measured but firm.
She's right. You probably should have been clearer. No offense, but this doesn't exactly scream urgent.
Mason looked taken aback, his enthusiasm faltering as he explained.
I didn't mean to mislead you. I thought it was important. And I thought maybe it'd be a chance for us to work together again, like old times.
Sarah's eyes narrowed as she spoke, her frustration evident.
Hold on. Mason, we don't work well together, remember?
We work great together. The team created me, and I am the most intelligent AI ever.
Everyone ignored Casper and focused on Sarah's frustration.
I know you're frustrated, but just hear me out. Remember our vision in college? To make the world a better place? A more efficient hydrogen engine could actually help reduce hydrocarbons in the atmosphere. This could be huge.
Sarah crossed her arms tighter, her voice icy as she responded.
Mason, I agree with the vision, but you can't just pull people into a call under false pretenses. An apology would be nice.
Mason faltered, visibly uncomfortable, and glanced at Leonardo for help as he stammered.
I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to trick anyone.
Leonardo spoke like a father mediating between fighting children, his tone calm but firm.
Look, Sarah, I get where you're coming from. But from Mason's perspective, this is important to him. Honestly, I really do miss our friendship.
Great. The data is clear. We need a 5% efficiency boost from the software upgrade and a 10% boost from the oil's fluid dynamic principles.
Sarah raised an eyebrow, her irritation clear as she replied.
Casper, this analysis will take hundreds of hours. It's not as simple as plugging in numbers.
Leonardo shrugged casually as he offered a suggestion.
Then let Casper do all the prep and background work. He's great at that.
Just as the tension seemed to ease, Casper blurted out.
I understand now. Sarah has unresolved emotional feelings toward Mason from the breakup. That's why she's reacting this way.
A stunned silence filled the chat. Mason's face turned bright red as he spoke sharply.
Casper, that's not appropriate.
Sarah's cold exterior cracked, her lips twitching into an involuntary frown as she replied.
Unbelievable. And, for the record, I do not have unresolved feelings.
Mason quickly recovered, his voice softened now as he offered a heartfelt apology.
You're right, Sarah. I should have been more upfront. I want to apologize. I'm sorry. Really.
Sarah's shoulders relaxed, and her tone softened as she responded.
Apology accepted. And this would be a good thing for the planet.
Casper, seemingly oblivious to the awkwardness he had caused, jumped in again.
Great. Since everyone agrees, let's schedule another meeting next week to review progress and resolve all of our remaining emotional tensions.
Leonardo chuckled, shaking his head as he remarked.
Casper, you really have a way with words.
Sarah laughed for the first time that evening, a quiet, genuine sound as she added.
Casper. Maybe stick to data analysis.
Mason grinned, the warmth of the moment rekindling his excitement as he concluded.
All right, team. Next week then. Let's make something amazing.
As the chat ended, the group found themselves smiling, tentatively, awkwardly, but genuinely. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start.